and secured all day.
Welcome to the Rangers Journal Monday Night Pod. I wish we could be here under better circumstances, but we are where we are, and hopefully we're going to have a little bit of a rant, maybe get some feelings off our chest to do with the current situation. It's not just one thing. It really runs from the team right through to the manager, to the directors and to the owners. Nothing's looking good at the moment, but I'm not here to do that by myself. I'm joined by Andrew. Andrew, mate, how are you?
Yeah, I've been better, but glad to be on here, and this is going to be a good therapy session, I think.
I shouldn't ask that. How you feeling? I know how you'll be feeling. In fact, I listened to Heart and Hand earlier on, and I think David asked other David Graham on how he's doing. They said exactly the same as you. I've been better. Ryan, thanks for coming along as well, mate. I will ask it just out of habit. How are you?
Yeah, I'm okay. Apologies if I sound a little bit stuffy. I'm struggling a bit of hay fever, so I've taken an antihistamine tablet about 5 minutes ago, so hopefully that kicks in the next few minutes. So apologies if I sound a bit groggy and a bit stuffy. Just struggling a little bit with it. But I'm glad of you guys for company, because I struggle to do this alone. So it's good to talk, as they say.
As and it's weird when I was trying to do an outline for the pod this evening. I'm thinking where to start. Do we start with the game? Do we start with the obvious elephant in the room, and that's the manager, or do we start further up the chain than that? But let's touch on the game, Andrew. I don't think many of us are particularly surprised at the result. A third 1-1 draw in a row in the league leaves us 6 points behind the league leaders at the moment. Obviously, there is a chance to cut that back next week, back down to 3 points. We will talk about that later on. But your feelings on how the match went, where do you begin with that? Again, we expected it.
Troublingly familiar, and I listened to both pre-match and post-match pods yesterday, and Ryan had it nailed on. You could see where the goal was going to come from, where the goal eventually come from, our vulnerabilities with set pieces, and just our lack of any sort of cohesion in playing attacking football. We just don't seem to be doing it. We've got wingers that aren't playing very well at wingers. They're being suppressed due to this way we're playing football. We insist on playing it around the back line and start that kind of possession-based football. It's not working, and it really is infuriating to watch for a team like us against a team like St Mirren. No disrespect to them, they can be a stodgy side to play against, but that's not the football you have to play against the St Mirren away. Sorry.
Ryan, we obviously were in the post-match, so a lot of our initial feelings have been put out there. But one thing, I actually went to bed thinking about what you said about Jack Butland's positioning for St Mirren's goal. And I had to get the highlights up on YouTube to see it again. We touched on it before we started this pod, but his positioning is woeful there. I don't think he's been told to stand so far back. He's on his 6-yard line. But if he stands even a few yards further forward, that goal doesn't happen.
Yeah, I mean, it's natural if your defenders are playing a high line, which our defenders have been instructed to do. The natural thing is that the goalkeeper also plays a high line as well. He also comes a little bit further forward than what you would normally see. You've seen it on Tuesday night against Bruges, cost us the first goal, and ultimately set us on a downward spiral to what's probably going to happen is we might end up going out the Champions League. Just purely because we lost a goal after just a couple of minutes, and the mentality levels that we've not got just puts us in the bin straight away. But if you look at the goal yesterday, it's poor. It's out on the left hand side. I think it's Makoma or Gassama, one of the two, and then we've got the ball, and they've got the opportunity to cross the ball into the box. The only person that's in the box is Lyle Cameron, and he's 5'6", 5'7", and he's standing next to mountains, basically. What's the point in putting it? So they lose the ball, bit of a poor clearance, ball goes out, and I think it's Mandron flicks the ball through. He just knocks it into the space. He knocks it into the fairways, I've started to call it now. There, and by the time that Ayunga's actually touched the ball, by the time he's caught up with the pass, he's 1.5 yards outside the D. Jack Butland's starting position is in his 6-yard box. Now, if your defenders are playing a high line and your defenders are actually in their half, your goalkeeper should not be in the 6-yard box. Your goalkeeper should be bare minimum on the edge of the 18-yard box. And had he been there and that cross comes through, he fancies how to come in and just put the ball into the car park. His starting position is absolutely terrible. Everyone in social media is giving Fernandez a bit of a hard time. People are giving Suter a bit of a hard time as well. Jack Butland is 100% at fault for that goal. It is appalling goalkeeping from his point of view. And he jumps up straight away and starts flapping his arms about. Mate, you're at fault for that. It's your starting position that's cost this goal. Not just the first goal on Sunday, but also the first goal the Tuesday before. He needs to have a long, hard look at himself.
I'll stay with you, Ryan, because obviously you've looked at the goal. I mean, I've never played football in a high degree, but I do remember like centre halves always talk to each other about keeping a line. Is there nobody turning around when they're, just standing there looking at Butland so far back, not calling him to come forward, or even the manager at the side, the assistants? There's no communication with him to come forward.
But even the boys in the stand that are standing behind the goal should be saying to him, big man, you need to get another few yards outside of there. Like, even anybody, the ball, there's professional athletes out there that have played the game at a high level. There's guys in the dugout that are all getting paid a good amount of money, who have all been to various different coaching courses, who have been appointed the coaching staff of Rangers Football Club. They should all be out there shouting at them there. I would expect to have to shout that to a 14 or a 15-year-old goalkeeper who's just started to play 11-a-side football. Just a wee bit of coach, the way your position is. Wee man, when they're up there, you need to be further out. You're not defending 5-a-side or 7-a-side goals anymore. You're defending at a bigger gate. He's 30-year-old. He's had caps for England. You shouldn't be having to tell him this.
Andrew, it must be a style of play that he's either not comfortable with, not used to, not taking it on board. Because as Ryan said, he really should know this himself. But it leaves that fairway, as we're talking, for teams, just to boot the ball into it. And, they're going to get a chance at some point, because there's the defenders are kind of caught in the back foot. Now, I wanted to read, because I've seen it all over Twitter today, what Kevin Thelwell said about the appointment of Russell Martin. So let's go through this, Andrew, okay? His teams play dominant football. They control the ball, dictate the tempo, and impose themselves physically. Have you seen that?
The only times I've ever seen it is probably about twice in two separate things. We were told we were going to get a style of play that was very physical, very attacking, very threatening, and it was that high risk, high reward thing. Now, the only time I really saw it is when we scored against Panathinaikos, where Aarons was out on the right, he sucked in the player that was with him. That's part of that kind of system. We're told that, we kind of suck players in and then we take them on the turn. You've got space, you can break. I've seen that once, and it's not worked in Scottish football at all. We are playing the ball along the back line. We look like we're suppressing any talent in any footballer. Footballers are coming here and looking a quarter of what they were at other clubs. Now, we can talk about Rothwell, potential injuries. He's looking half a player. Everybody looks off the boil. And that isn't just down to the players. They have a percentage of it. That's down to the management style. And frankly, if they're not reading instructions or whatever, then that's still down to the manager.
Let's carry on with this quote. So they play aggressively and work relentlessly off the ball. I haven't seen that at all. Not even in the games I think we've done well in. With not many of them, I know that. But there's just whatever he's meant to be implementing. I mean, the fans themselves, nobody really wanted Russell Martin. I think most of us, though, were quite happy to, okay, well, let's see how this plays out. But it's playing out exactly the way we expected. This team plays the same way as we played for the last 2 seasons, knocking it about at the back, putting a ball into the box, but there's nobody there, or there's an attacker that's surrounded by 2 or 3 7-foot defenders who clear the ball. I think was it a Livingston manager that said we knew what Rangers were going to do. They were going to just chuck the ball in, and we knew we could deal with that. So that hasn't changed in 2 or 3 seasons. So what was the point in bringing Russell Martin in to play the same system?
I think that's where naivety comes into play potentially. Now, we, like you said, when Martin was appointed manager, you get on the train and go, right, you're not exactly going to say, well, we didn't want you, so we're not going to support you. No, you looked at what the 49ers Enterprises did at Leeds. Some of the fans were quite disappointed with some things they did there, but they sold top players for good money and brought in cheaper players. The fans weren't happy about that, but it paid off in the end. So, their data analysis, the way they look at everything, paid off. So you're thinking to yourself, well, maybe they're going to unlock something here. We've tried different things before. Maybe this is the way to go forward. So far, we look worse than back in 2016, 2017, and we have to be completely honest here that we have had such a decent run of fixtures, to be honest. all right, you're at Fir Park opening game. You're right, you're at St Mirren away, but you've got Dundee at home as well. These aren't Pittodrie. This isn't Easter Road. This isn't Tynecastle. If this continues, we are going to be annihilated when we get Hearts are playing pretty good football at the minute. There's a few other teams. Aberdeen will have a field day against us. We are too easy to pick apart, and it is extremely worrying right now. The one thing that Russell Martin had, when you look at his previous things at MK Dons, he had a British record for a goal created, 56 consecutive passes during the 2021 season. So he does like this possession-based build-up. It works at a team like MK Dons where you leak goals and end up, free-flowing down the leagues. It doesn't work at Rangers, and it doesn't. You have to be on the front foot. You have to take the game to them. You have to be attacking. You have to use your qualities. Look at the qualities we've got in this team. We've brought in some decent players for once. We actually have 2 nailed-on wingers and options on the bench as well. And we're not utilising them properly. We're not doing... The only side that looks a little okay is the left-hand side, like you guys highlighted yesterday. And it's correct. I think Mitch said that. But still, that is still suppressed a little bit by the way we play. This is all tactical. And I think he's lost a dressing room. I really do think he's lost a dressing room already. There's been some choice words said, as he's kind of paraphrased over the past few weeks. And I think that that's done more damage than anything, because these players... I can't say that they're not playing for him at the minute. A lot of this is tactical. There was one thing I noticed a couple of weeks ago, not to go on to a rant, but we were on the attack. Ball came back to Deja. He's pointing at Deja over to Suter. He wants the ball to go further back to start that kind of phase of play again, building from the back. What is the point? You can't be doing this in Scotland. You need to be taking the game to other teams. You need to be using and playing to your strengths. We are not doing that right now, and that is... flatline. That is all on the manager, and he looked out of ideas at points yesterday.
If I can just make a legal disclaimer, here at the Rangers Journal, we do not agree with any comments that Mitch makes on this podcast. So Andrew will have to scrub that from the record. Because kidding, Mitch. Ryan, I've heard before he came here, I heard the phrase tactical stubbornness, and he said in his interviews, when he was made head coach, that he has learned from his mistakes before, but. I'm actually going to say maybe he has, because the formation in the second half was nothing short of just throwing whatever at the wall to see if it works. But up until that point, he's not shown very much. He's not very much happy to go away from what he determines this style of play to be.
I think that probably more so last Tuesday sums it up when we go in 3-0 down at half time after a really, really poor 20 minutes. And everybody's sitting, we're all talking in the stands. What's he going to do? How's he going to change it? I think I'd actually offered to go down to the dugout and have a word with him if the same team came out in the second half, to put it politely. That's not the words I used at the time. But you come out there and it's the same team. And I actually at one point turned round and the boy that sits behind me, Craig, said he's put the same 11 out. And I actually turned round and I counted the players on the park because I couldn't believe what he was telling me. That's the stubbornness that you put your team in 3-0 down at half time, and you get nothing short of the audacity to put the same 11 back out for the second half, expecting something different to happen. And it's appalling. I think that the two things that you had going well from going into this, you've got Nico Raskin, who had just broke into the Belgian team, who we're all looking, do we keep him, do we sell him? We're talking a good amount of money for him. You've got Hamza Egeman, who's the other shining light within the team. They're the kind of two jewels of the crown of the squad when you're looking at it, saying they're the two stars in there. Do you keep them? Do you sell them? Do you build a team around them? And that one of them's, we're going to come on to in a minute, is not wanting to play for us anymore. Simple as that. Another guy just looks a shadow of a player that he used to look like. Like, how can you take these two great players and just turn them into plain ordinary again? And it's his tactics, it's his way of playing. Whereas he could have actually taken these two guys and built a right good team around him and actually pushed us forward. And he seems to have just, anything he seems to touch, even Ant-Man, when Ant-Man's first game against Blitzen, looked fantastic. Won as a penalty in the first half, set up the third goal, looked absolutely great. Ant-Man couldn't beat an egg on Sunday. He literally couldn't do anything. And Diamante's another one who was a half-decent player who seems to have gone years backwards. I just can't understand what it is that he's trying to do. And it's baffling, and you're thinking, right, well, we can go out and sign players. It just floods the team with loan players. Do these loan players really care? Are they up here for their own kind of, their needs or our needs? It's bog. It's mental what's going on. I can't get my head around it. And I can't see anything past other than getting rid of him. I didn't want him in the first place, and I still don't want him. I would, if they come out tomorrow morning and said he's not going to be the manager for Wednesday night, I'd be delighted.
Let's. I'll bring up. Thanks to Doug for this slide, because I want to bring up the possession stat there, Andrew. Teams in the SPFL are very happy for us to have 71% possession, aren't they? They're not scared of that. So this style that he thinks is earth-shattering and changing is really something that plays into the opposition's hand.
Totally. You know, how many times have you seen an opposition team in the SPFL take centre and just pass the ball to us and just sit back? That's what they do. It's like you said before, the Martindale comment, you know, they like forcing us out wide and trying to get balls in for defenders to header away. They can do it all day. That possession does nothing. And it's quite impressive in some respects that teams that do get 29-30% possession against us will always get that one chance that they capitalise with, and they do because they know they can. It's just too easy. Possession football won't do anything. You need to be attacking, and you do need to be. We just need to always be on the front foot. If you go a goal behind, we need to start playing the way we did in the 80th minute, where Martin's throwing everything at the wall, hoping something will stick. It's when we go a little bit gung-ho because he's out of ideas and just go, right, throw these people on, let's see what we can do. That seems to be when we seem to be weirdly the most organised, which makes no sense whatsoever. But that's possession, it does my head in looking at it at the minute, because it's something, again, that hasn't really changed. We always generally have more of the ball. We do nothing with it. But now there is an intent to move the ball further back, to play it along the back line that's played that higher line, to try and force your way through a team that's set to have a yard or two in front of you, where they're not going to give up any space for you to get around unless you come at them. And we don't come at them. We stop. We look around. We play a sideways pass. Then it ends up back with Suter or Butland. And it's the perfect ball. And again, Ryan said it yesterday. You guys said it yesterday. We've heard it all in the week. These teams know how to play against us. Martin surely knows this by now. We have to approach it differently. It looked like we were going to approach yesterday a little bit differently by the way we were trying to debate what the tactics were going to be, the formation. We were looking at it was going to be a bit of Craig Levein ball against, I think, was it the Czech Republic back in the day when he didn't play a striker up top, which he was undone by a set piece as well, ironically. But it's just poor reading. All that with the ball, but you do nothing with it. Doesn't do anything for you.
I think it was Mitch that actually made up these scorecards, Ryan. But so we can't really fully align with it, just purely for their own ego issues. But the right wing and the centre forward, obviously being Asgard and Ant-Man, very poor, very little product or end product out of them. Anytime Ant-Man was dribbling through, you had two players off him, and Aarons was nowhere near making a run off him. And when he was, he almost made himself behind the two players, so he couldn't possibly get a pass on. There just didn't seem to be any kind of... There's no patterns of play. There's no patterns of play that we seem to be, showing that we're doing it in the training field. Yeah,
it's a total lack of ideas. Aarons has been poor. He's been really, really poor since he's come in. So much so that, everyone's calling him. I think Conor Golson has said you won't appreciate James Tavernier in the team until he's no longer in the team. So, but, he's hanging Ant-Man out to dry. At one point, Ant-Man had three guys standing in front of him. I know I'm turning around saying he couldn't beat an egg, right? But he's not getting any help at all. You're needing an overlapping fullback. We with Coma on the left-hand side is helping Gassama out no end all the time. He's pulling guys there. He's creating options. Gassama's able to turn inside onto his good foot and get a couple of shots away on goal. Credit the goalkeeper for the couple of saves that he did have against them. But, you're seeing it all the time. But Aris just, for whatever reason, just cannot seem to get up over the halfway line and support Ant-Man. And it's a shame that it's not as if there's... Rothwell could come in and cover. Raskin could come in and cover if your fullback does make these runs. But it just seems to be... We're very, very, very poor. And it's no coincidence that both him, Rothwell, Suter have all got 3s out of 10, which is mental.
I mean, if you look at the red, orange, and green kind of guide, we only have 2 starting players, Andrew, that got green marks, and even then, it's a 6. It's not exactly an 8 or a 9. I think it's also telling that you have to bring James Tavernier on. If Tavernier's coming on, towards the end of a game, then that's a bad sign.
Yeah, 100%. It shows over the years we have relied on James Tavernier too much, in a sense, for our assists and goal creation, and it's more of the same at the minute. Like Ryan said, players are getting doubled up on, tripled up on, which shouldn't be happening when you've got a lot of good quality in the team where they should be getting stretched a little bit, but they're not. And you did notice in that last 10 minutes how much better we were playing, and actually we were finally looking like we were going to do something. But it was all, again, too little too late. We need to start games like that, and why aren't we? Martin said, we will not play that way again, and I'm sick of hearing it. I barely watched any of the post-match stuff yesterday because it's the same buzzwords, it's the same things. Yes, a manager can't, throw the toys out the pram, and they've got to be professional, and I understand they've got to try and manage the team, manage the ego, manage everything that's in there, and try and get that team performing, but it's not working. And especially, James Tavernier, hats off to him, considering he's kind of on the back burner at the minute. He's not starting games, he's not captain till he comes on. And I'm sure that Tav is one of the people that the harsh words were had with a few weeks ago from the manager, and I think that's where a lot of this kind of fallout kind of came from initially. But yeah, fair play to Tav for plugging away, because no matter what people say about him, he does care about the club and he does care about Rangers. But it's all on him all the time, and it's too often now.
Ryan, my Twitter feed today was obviously filled with Russell Martin interviews and clips after the game. I watched one, and somebody had obviously put this up for a bit of a laugh, but I watched an interview with him where he describes learning from the mistakes, and things will gel in time. And it was actually an interview after the Southampton game. It wasn't the Rangers game for yesterday at all. Somebody just stuck it up there and pretending it was, but it was the same excuses that he made before. He's not learned his lesson at all, and I think he's completely underestimated what this league is about.
Yeah, time's up. It's as simple as that. It's sad that it's after only so many games, but the boys burst. Because of the reception that he received, he wasn't well received by the fans. I think underwhelmed was the kind of the key word that was used with it. There was so many people had higher hopes. There was Team Gerrard, there was Team Ancelotti, there was so many guys that were looking for bigger and better names. And it took months of recruitment to get this done. When did Clement lose his job? March, April time? Round about there. And it was, Barry Ferguson was obviously in situ, carried the can for a while, appreciate what he'd done for us whilst he was there. But this took months and months and months, and this is what they've delivered us. So we need to point the finger. It's not as bad as it is for Russell Martin, obviously his coaching team. This isn't where it stops. We should be looking at Kevin Thelwell, who's appointed him. The guys at Steenson or something like that, who apparently was all over Europe looking for somebody. We've got to be then looking at Patrick Stewart, who's also appointed Thelwell into place as well. They're not they're not blameless for this. It does. It rolls uphill when it comes to this as well, because it doesn't just stop. Russell Martin's obviously going to take the job, but it's other guys within the building as well that are to blame for this. The recruitment, everything else.
Well, that brings me on to the next kind of subheading I had, and that was about Patrick Stewart and Kevin Thelwell. Andrew, are they the real culprits for what's gone wrong here?
Well, it kind of, the buck does stop with them. They had the lengthy recruitment process. It's something that Ryan touched on yesterday as well, with especially with the Gerrard situation. I don't think anybody was fully looking at the candidate list going, oh, amazing, we all definitely have a nailed on one. I think we were all pretty set on Ancelotti coming in because it looked like he was in the final stages, but we, don't get me wrong, we didn't jump at the first opportunity, which is something. It looks like we took a level-headed approach and we're looking at certain things. But it was quite strange that Martin was the one that kind of came out on top. I think they had a few interviews with Martin, which maybe helped them make their mind up. So obviously, clearly, the first interview probably didn't nail everything on. Yeah, no, the buck does stop there. Is it inexperience with the Scottish game, the Scottish fan base, especially at a club like Rangers? possibly. They must have seen a lot of stuff that was kind of coming out, especially from, you know, us and other podcasts and stuff about candidates and the kind of lack of outstanding candidates. And don't get me wrong, we kind of know our place in the ecosystem now. We, sadly, it's not the 90s anymore. We can't be attracting you know, massive managers. We have to look for somebody that's looking for a project that might go on to better things, sadly, or we're looking for somebody that is a good manager that kind of has lost their way a little bit and needs to kind of get back into the game. And it's annoying, but that's kind of where we are. And the Russell Martin thing is a bit of a project, but his best work probably came at MK Dons, where they were a club in free fall. They conceded goals all the time. They just would lose all the time, and he managed to steady the ship there, and his football worked there because they would have most of the ball. They wouldn't be conceding as much as what they were, and I think they finished third under him during COVID, so it's probably one of the highest finishes in a long time. But it's a different ball game there. It's a different ball game in League One, League Two. It's not what it is in Scotland. We all know the expectations of Rangers. This is a crisis right now. 3 draws, some people might say you're unbeaten. No, it's 3 draws. It's Rangers. And we've not really played any of the proper kind of top 6 sides that you would expect currently. So yeah, no, it does. It does. Stewart and Thirlwell currently, it kind of does lay at their door, sadly. And they now have to have a look. They have to look at a way of sorting this. And I don't know what route they're going to go down. You know, you look at, does it come from above that they say, no, this is part of the project, we're going to let it play out like what happened at Leeds, because the fans will walk. If that is the case, Ibrox won't be full all from day, and other games going forward it won't be.
Ryan, I don't know if you could say that Thirlwell and Stewart ignored the fans' feeling when it comes to appointing Russell Martin. They must have been aware, and in fact I think it was talked about at the press conference when he was unveiled, that, you know, the fans maybe were a bit sceptical of him. But Thirlwell, and I'm putting my slant on, or my opinion on it, it seems like he's came up here from Everton thinking, you know, and been successful, but thinking he knew what to do, or he knew what he was looking for in a manager. And I mean, Russell Martin has played here for a short period of time. He should have known what to expect. You know, teams did play the same way. It's not the same as Gio, in my opinion. I don't think teams played the same way back when Gio played in Scotland, but Russell Martin certainly experienced the low block. So it's really just, has there been an arrogance on Stewart and Thirlwell's part for choosing him as the manager, or did they just have him in mind from day one, and they did all these interviews to kind of confirm their already skewed opinion?
I refuse to believe he was the first choice. Do you know? I refuse to believe that they went through all these other guys, and this is the guy that they came out with to say this is the first choice manager we want. I think Gerrard was very much a contender. I think that Gerrard liked to believe that he set a deadline. That he said that, you know, if you want me, if I'm there, all these interviews after interviews and going and speaking to this party, going and speaking to this party. I think Gerrard walked away for his own face, you know, for his own face and his own credibility on it. He splits opinion very much there. And how many people probably turn around now and say, oh, I would never have had Gerrard back in the club? How many people would take him back now, considering the position we're in? Would we be sitting here with 3 draws if Gerrard was the manager? Would we be sitting here criticising the style of football that we're playing if Gerrard was the manager? Would we be getting in so many underperforming players, and would our players be regressing that we've actually got in the building already if he was the manager? So I think he set the deadline on the basis that he was, you know, he realised the level or the task that was in front of him, where he had to get so many players and he had to get so many players out, and Champions League qualifiers started in July. That's a mammoth task for any manager to do, regardless. It doesn't matter if you're Pep Guardiola, you know, Jose Mourinho, it doesn't matter who you are. That's a massive job to do, and they set a deadline to say, listen, if you want me to take this job, I need to know by Friday, because I've got so much work in front of me. If I don't hear from you by Friday, I'm withdrawing my application for the job. And I think that's fair. And I know there's all this thing about tax and wives and all this kind of stuff. He wanted this job. If you phoned him tonight, he would be here tomorrow to be the Rangers manager. I truly believe that. The Ancelotti thing, I don't think we'll ever find out what happened with that. It was obviously the link came in with Como just before. You know, we believed that it was going to be our manager, and then this Como link came out the blue. And I don't know if that maybe spooked the board, and they just ran away from, and all of a sudden maybe they showed bad character on him, and he sort of went, well, no, I'm not speaking to Coleman. I don't know, something's happened in the background there that's led to him going back out to Brazil. I think he probably wanted the job. I think he wanted to stay in Europe. I don't imagine a guy of his pedigree and the experience that he's got working in Europe is looking to follow his dad into retirement of international football, going and managing Brazil on the other side of the world. I think he would have wanted to stay in Europe if he had the opportunity to do so. So something weird's happened, and I think they've shut the bed on the two decent candidates we've had, and the two of them have walked away at some point, and they turned around and went, who else we got? Russell Martin's still interested. I take it. We need to get somebody in now. If we're seen to actually go back to the start again here and have to go through the recruitment process again, we're in serious doo-doo. So something strange has happened. I can't believe that he was the first choice candidate for the job. He's got no track record. He's never won anything. And you're saying that Kevin Thelwell was successful at Everton. How was he successful at Everton? What did Everton win? Did they keep Everton in the Premier League? Is that regarded as success? I don't think it's successful.
When you come, Andrew, you were going to say something?
Yeah, no, I totally agree, Ryan. And you could tell from Ancelotti's camp, because stuff was getting fed to the press in regards to, there's a link, they want me here, they want me there. He was trying to push along this, if you want me, I'm here. That's what it seemed to be with Ancelotti at that point. And it seemed that all the candidates, I think they couldn't make a decision. I genuinely do think they couldn't make a decision. They really took a long time. And don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with taking a bit of time to make sure you got the right man, but they didn't get the right man by the looks of it at the minute.
And I think the fans, fans can forgive these two if they did hold their hands up just now. And it was Ryan saying if they phoned somebody like Gerrard, there would be a lot of goodwill going back onto them from the fans for realising, there's nothing wrong with you don't always work out in a job. Nothing wrong with going, look, this isn't working out. We need to go separate ways. I realise it's a difficult week with two big games that we'll talk about towards the end coming up. But if they don't make a decision and I'm not wanting the dreaded, vote of confidence in the manager, but if they continue to hide, they're going to get more and more of the pressure put on them. Well, look, one other thing, before we move on to this week's games, I've seen both sides of this. Russell Martin, after the game, heavily insinuated, if not outright said, that Hamza Egeman refused to come on, claiming that he'd had an injury. And I've heard testimony from fans saying that he was warming up fine, and I've heard other ones saying, no, he did point out to the training guy that he'd pulled something. But he certainly seemed to throw Egeman under the bus. Now, I don't know what your feelings on that. Andrew, I'll start with you. Do you think that's fair game if a player does do? Because it's really the worst thing you can do as a player to your teammates.
Totally. I took a step back a little bit and had a look at the situation as a whole. At that point, it looked like Dowell was coming on as well. All of a sudden, Dowell then wasn't coming on. I'm not sure if at that point Martin didn't really know what he was going to do there, and I'll be honest. If it's true what people have said that Egeman was with the medical team pointing at his leg or whatever, then that can happen, and it can happen. Also, it could be the situation where he's thinking, I don't want to injure myself for my potential move. Could it be that he's thrown the toys out the pram and refused to play? The way Martin was speaking about it was like he doesn't want to play. Is kind of what he was.
I don't think it's deniable, Andrew. I think that's what it is.
That's the thing. The way the manager's saying it now, obviously you got to take what the manager's saying as gospel, and I don't think he'd throw Egeman under the bus if Egeman wasn't like, I just want to go now. I'm sorry, I want this move, and it kind of feels that way. So yeah, I think it is probably the latter, that he just didn't want to come on. He's our best striker. Football, it does happen, these type of things. You look at Newcastle and Isaac, that whole situation, and it's horrible when it happens at your club. If it is true and he wants away, he can't play again, we've got to sell him, and sell him now. If that original offer is still on the table, great, take it. If not, if it's slightly under, then why not? I know some people say, you should punish him, put him with the B team. What's the point? You're depreciating the value of your one of your star assets. Just get him out the door now, because if you've got somebody there that doesn't want to play, it can rub off on other players in the team, and it just creates friction in an already distressed dressing room, if we're being honest. It's not all rosy in the garden, and that's just another issue. And if that's the case, yeah, just get it done now. It sounds like the talks have opened up again between both clubs, so I wouldn't surprise me if he's gone in a couple of days.
Ryan, I'll put my, because Andrew says there, punish him. That's my initial reaction is to, no, you're not going anywhere. You're just going to sit. You know what? You're going to do a month with the juniors, then we'll gradually bring you back in. And you'll know your place. But I guess this is modern football. That doesn't tend to happen anymore. What's your thoughts on the whole kind of saga? Do you think it was a refusal to come on in the first place?
I wouldn't put it out of question. You know, he's obviously trying to, his head's been turned. He doesn't want to be here anymore. You know, he's got aspirations to go and play in Europe somewhere, probably in France. You know, there was comments earlier on that he showed up a stone overweight when he's come back from pre-season. I'm not too sure how much I believe that, because there's, you know, if he's looking to engineer a move into Europe at some point, you don't show up a stone overweight. You show up in peak condition so that you're ready to go, because you could be called upon for a medical at any point if a bid's accepted. It's a shame. It's a shame, and it should never come to this. One thing for me though, it should never be public, and I think Martin's trying to deflect with it. Now, all Martin's done by making this public is weakened our position. We're in a right good strong position that our prize sellable asset, we're trying to negotiate hard for him, and obviously has thrown the toys out the pram because we've knocked a bid back. But now we're not really in a position that we can knock a bid back. He's weakened our hand, and it might have actually in theory cost us millions of pounds here, because any bid that comes in now has to be strongly considered, because we've got a bad egg in the dressing room now who is not going to be greatly received by our fans. He's not going to be received by his fellow work colleagues, both on the playing side of things. Do you think the tea lady wants to speak to him today? Probably not. So it should have been kept in-house. He's deflected to try and save his own skin, but ultimately he's probably just cost us a good few quid by doing it. He should have came away and said, we were actually going to put Hamza on, but he came at the medicals that the injury that he was suffering from before is cleared up again. We've got a lot of big games coming up in the next few weeks, and we didn't want to risk him, so we left him on the bench. It's as simple as that. He didn't have to come out and say the guy wasn't willing to do his job, which is what he's done. It's poor, it's ill-timed, it's bad judgment on his side of things. So we'll wait and see what comes of it.
Andrew, that surely comes under gross misconduct then by Russell Martin by making this public in the first place, even though he tried to walk it back in the bigger press conference right after the game. He basically says he doesn't want to come on. But I have to trust him. But if that does end up costing us, what, 3, 4, 5 million quid, that's on him for that one stupid comment.
Yeah, managers do have to be tactful, like Ryan says there, when it comes to things, because you can create a media storm. Now, unless he wanted a bit of a media storm to kind of take a lot off of him yesterday, I don't think it takes much off him yesterday. You know, that's still all the butt lies with the manager. Oh, totally. You have to be diplomatic. You say, like Ryan said, you know, he didn't feel quite right with it. We're going to have a look at it and assess him over the next few days. That's it. Move on to the next question. So yeah, it could have backfired, but it's something that actually could create a bit of friction between the manager and the board as well, because if he's lost his money that we greatly need, we've got PSR here where that could help us secure a striker at X amount of money. We might not be able to do that now, potentially, because of that. I think he was speaking a little bit in the heat of the moment, like you say, when it came to the main press conference. It kind of changed a little bit. But again, you've got to keep yourself in check, and you got to go with the playbook, sadly.
Another kind of weird one in the press conference, Ryan, was mentioning Cyril Dessers, and he seemed to imply that Cyril Dessers, as much as he hasn't requested or put in a transfer request, kind of wants to move on. Was it a strange way? He was pushed back on it, and he said, no, he's not put a transfer request in. But was that another strange one as well? Does that weaken our hand when it comes to Dessers too?
He's lost the plot yesterday. He's literally lost the plot. I think if he could have, said that his mom was for sale yesterday, they'd probably done it. It was crazy yesterday's press conference. He shouldn't have done his press conference yesterday. He should have stuck his assistant out and just gave nothing. He doesn't, and it's not even just that he's doing one press, he's doing one for Rangers TV. You then see him in Sky, he's there in PLs, and he's all over the place. Like, mate, do one press conference, so you're answering 6 questions, you're not going to talk about Hamza, and just get yourself out of Dodge. Like, it's a shambles. It's the same idea of this lap of honour that the players seem to want to do after terrible results. We get beat 3-1 Tuesday night, and the guys are wanting to walk around the stadium and to have a clap at every single fan. Get off the pitch, go up there and get in the showers. You were appalling tonight. We don't want to look at you. But it seems that this is his opportunity for a lap of honour to go around every single journalist in Scotland and talk to me about how bad Rangers were today. Like, mate, get up, get in there, go in the dressing room, tear a couple of shreds off the players and how crap they were, get in your car and go home. It's brutal, absolutely brutal, man.
It does leave us now looking for a striker, obviously linked with Miovski, which I'm kind of happy about, actually. I didn't think Aberdeen would ever sell him to us, at least not for a decent price, but if we can get him kind of through a third channel. But to be honest, I think we probably need two, at least, because Danilo is just not firing either.
Yeah, it's sad for Danilo. He was a little unlucky with that shot that came in from Tav yesterday and the header he managed to get. Again, there's a great player in there, but we're not seeing it. We probably do need two strikers realistically. Miovski at least is somebody that knows the league, that can come in and we know what to expect. Decent player, and I think Aberdeen's scouting in recent times hasn't actually been too bad. They've been able to bring in some great players to Scotland for reasonable prices. But yeah, we do need at least a couple of strikers. Our shots, they're terrible. Shots on target, we barely have any, and that's not Rangers. And some of that can be down to chance creation. We're not creating enough, but yeah, we need strikers, and we need people to actually look up and take a shot when there's an opportunity, like Finlay Curtis, who's probably one of the best strikers at the club at the minute. He's the goal scorer at the minute.
Let's look ahead. We've got a busy time coming up. So obviously Wednesday, we'll go through these in a little bit more depth. But let me just read the next fixtures to you. So Club Brugge on Wednesday night. We'll then get Celtic on Sunday. We've got Hearts the following Saturday. We've got Hibernian, I believe, on the 20th. But then also Livingston away on Saturday the 27th of September. A place with notoriously not a great place to play with the park. This could be, if they don't decide to remove Russell Martin as manager, an awful few weeks for us, Ryan, couldn't it be?
It's like the list of horror movies there you were just putting on, to be honest with you. I mean, what do you want to speak about first? Wednesday?
Well, just that run. I mean, I guess you've already said it's a horror show, but yeah, let's talk about Bruges if you like, mate.
I mean, it's a shocking run of results. I mean, it shows you how fair, as Andrew was saying earlier on, how we're eased in we were as far as the fixture list is concerned. Now all of a sudden we've got kind of a mega run of really difficult games. But Wednesday, tactics for Wednesdays, he has to ensure, and it's imperative that we do not lose a goal on Wednesday at all of any course over the 90 minutes. We need to make sure that we keep a clean sheet no matter what. We're never going to score 3 goals out there. I think it'd be, silly to go out there and try and go out and play attacking and try and, go out there and score 3 goals. I think we need to make sure that we quieten things down and sneak a goal. At any point during the game, just sneak a goal and put the pressure on, and then keep it tight, and then try and go sneak another and get it to extra time. But we have to keep a clean sheet. And I don't even... Have we kept a clean sheet in the game under Russell Martin at all? I don't think we have. I
think so. At home. Was it 2-0 Panathinaikos at home?
Aye.
Only because they went down to 10 men, though.
And Jack Butland had a worldie that night. So...
One clean sheet.
Yeah. So that realistically is our only opportunity to do this. We have to, under all circumstances, keep a clean sheet. If they score, it's done. It's as simple as that. And if they score 1, it could get messy.
Then in a kind of similar position, Pilsen were. Obviously, they were at home at the second game, but they knew if we scored a goal, it was basically done. Andrew, I mean, what's just your opinion on it? I was thinking you do as Ryan says, try to get a goal as early as possible, but he has to change the system and just make it play a low block, keep it tight, play on the break. We've got fast players. Gassam can break, so we could take the opportunity, try and sneak something in the second half and play for extra time.
Yeah, we've got to throw caution to a wind a little bit while being defensively solid. I think the only upside at the minute is some of our better performances have come in Europe, which isn't too dissimilar to Rangers over the years. It's an uphill task. It really is a mountain to climb, and it's going to be difficult. Not impossible. Bruges weren't the best team in the Champions League over the years, but they've grown into a decent, solid Champions League side, and they're kind of the side you want to emulate going into the Champions League. Can we go there and win 2-0? It's possible. It's going to be hard, but it's possible. But we have to play the way we played against Panathinaikos. Not the way we started against Panathinaikos, but the way we eventually played, where we started to click a bit and actually we started to open up space. It depends how they set up. They might sit in a little bit. I don't know. They're at home. Their fans, like Ryan said, their fans will probably want a goal, and if they score early on, this could be bad. And it could be bad because we've not shown any cojones, really, in some of these games at the minute. And the worrying thing is, obviously, we're talking about Champions League at the minute. Obviously, we are guaranteed at least Europa League group stage football if we go out at this stage. Are we going to be in Europe next season? Because at the minute, we're not. I know that's looking quite far ahead, but yeah, this could be our last hit of Europe for a while if we are remaining with Russell Martin and this system. But yeah, we have to start strongly, and we have to actually show what we can do in an attacking sense, because we are very lackluster, and Martin's system is the problem. It's squashing, and it's just stopping any creative flair. And we've got a lot of players we have signed that have got creative flair. Let them use it.
Ryan, Russell Martin aside, there's no great humiliation in going out to Club Brugge at this stage, based on where we are in the kind of another rebuild and with a new manager. But I think it was the manner of how we chucked away those 3 goals in the first half that's the kind of embarrassing side of this. Do you have any hope for Wednesday night? I know you're going out there, so I think you probably do.
And I need to have hope the fact I'm actually getting out there, because I've spent a lot of money to do it. So we'll have a good time. I'm sure that the trips are always amazing. Usually the football spoils the trips, but I do have hope, and I don't think it's out the realms of impossible for this team. Because see, when they click and it works, we've seen the 3-0 victory against Blitz at home, and it clicks and it works. It's great, and the Jekyll and Hyde nature of the team, and they all seem to raise their game in the European games and stuff like that. It wouldn't surprise me. And you might find that Bruges are just a wee bit kind of cocky, and that they think the tie's done and they just rest on their laurels, and we just go out there and surprise them as the underdogs in the game. And it's maybe sometimes better that we actually come out as underdogs, because obviously when we play in our domestic football, more often than not, we're actually regarded as the favourites. So, if we actually come out as underdogs and surprise a few people, you never know. If we do qualify for the Champions League, what happens after that? Because it could be, it could be some scary nights after that. If we do manage to do it, we'll be rich, but it could be quite dicey after that. But no, listen, it wouldn't surprise me, but it has to be the clean sheet. That's the only way forward. That's the key to success. If we can do that, anything's possible.
What's your thoughts on how it's going to end up, Andrew? We'll move on to the Celtic game after that.
Like Ryan says, it's not an impossibility. We've always played better as the underdogs, especially in Europe. The smaller sides, I felt we've always not necessarily struggled, but we always play better against bigger sides. We raise our game. It's something we've always done, so it's not impossible. If we can get a 2-0 and take it to extra time, who knows?
Ryan, I'll come back to you on the Celtic game now. I speak to my mate Michael, who's a Celtic fan at work, and he can't wait to play us because he's like, "You're so bad," and I'm hoping that's a kind of folly that sometimes happens to football fans. You see a team struggling, and you think, "I can't wait to smash them," but they're not in particularly great shapes either. They struggled obviously the other night there against a decently organised team, and they've got a long journey to go on, and because of that kind of the result not getting a kind of good lead, they do have to take the full team out there as well. So the team likely to start against us will probably be the team that's likely to start for them tomorrow night. If we get knocked out on Wednesday night, and if Celtic come and scud us at Ibrox, surely that's the end of Russell Martin.
I doubt it. My personal prediction is I think he'll last till the end of the League Cup quarter-final against Hibs, and we'll see what happens to that. I think the board would be more than disappointed to lose the opportunity of a semi-final at Hampden, and obviously the financial rewards of that we'll get. The game on Sunday, the form book's always out the window, and it's always 11 guys against 11 guys. At the end of the day, they could be in very, very poor form, and they come and they give us a doing. We could be absolutely terrible. We've seen us go out with half a team sometimes with injuries and stuff, and we go out and we play our hearts out, and they do really, really well. The concerns I've got is I'm worried about Max Aarons against Maeda. We spotted that Tavernier struggled against them, and now we're talking about Tavernier, being the better of the two. Maeda could have Aarons on toast. I'm worried about McGregor against Rothwell in the middle of the park. I don't think it was a coincidence that our best 15 minutes at the end of the game on Sunday was when Rothwell was substituted for Curtis. I don't think that was a coincidence at all. So there's a couple of key battles in that game that I can see there. And obviously there's a possibility that we might not have a striker to play in the game because we might have sold Yeoman and Dessers, and we've not got high hopes for Danilo and what he can do for us. So what will be with it at all. It could be a right bad week for us, but in the same token, it could be a right good week for us at the same time. So this is the horrible thing about the high risk, high reward football. We don't know what we're going to get, and we need some assurances. And you're talking about Livingston, like, are we actually that low in confidence that we don't think we're going to go to Livingston and get a result?
Yeah, yeah, genuinely.
It can't be that bad as Rangers. We need to aspire to be it. That's just so wrong in so many different levels.
Andrew, thinking of the Celtic game, as Ryan says, form generally does go out the window. We weren't particularly great last season, but we managed, 2 wins? I win at Ibrox and I win at their place. So, I mean, these it's not the same team, but players can get up for these big games, especially if we do come off the back of a decent result on Wednesday night.
Yeah, last season we managed to kind of figure out how to play against them, which took a long time. It was a long time coming. We've still got an away trip in Europe. Yes, it's only Belgium, so actually it's probably nearer than going to blooming Ross County in some respects. Not too far dissimilar when you're going up that blooming road, but we've still got a tough trip, which is going to be our full strength squad out as well. They will probably feel it a bit more. I don't think they've fully got that squad depth that they'd like to have to rotate. They will be confident though. Don't get me wrong, they've not started the season amazingly. They left it late to beat St Mirren. They kind of struggled a bit against Aberdeen, but they managed to get a foothold in the game. But they are winning. They've got 9 points out of 9, and that's what they do. Even when they're not playing well, they can grind out a win. I've not seen too much of them this season. It's just kind of the bits that you hear. It'll be, obviously, the atmosphere will be phenomenal at Ibrox. It will be rocking, hopefully anyway, unless we get scudded by Bruges, where it could be a little bit different. But I'm expecting us to come out and start strongly. For me, it's that high line getting exploited. I know there's a few players that aren't there now that would have been able to exploit it better, but they've still got enough quality to, if they take an early lead, it will get hairy and it will get horrible. I remember being at the Michael Beale game, the one where Roof's goal was chopped off, and then the Dessers thing, it was a mess. We lost 1-0 to their only shot. The amount of stuff that was coming flying over my head, and everyone was calling for Beale then, and that wasn't as much of a bad start as what this is. This is bad, and we have to turn it around now. And this is the type of week that makes or breaks you as a Rangers player. This is what you want. You want to be playing Champions League playoff football and then into an Old Firm game. That's what you want, and this is where you separate the men from the boys. We've got to be men and actually play football and take the game to them at the weekend. They will be, the advantage is we aren't travelling as far as them, so hopefully we can use that to our advantage, and hopefully they'll be a little tired, like when we had to go and play Ufa and then came back to Parkhead, had to completely change up our approach to the game, and we struggled, and we did struggle in that game. So it might be a similar type of thing, but hopefully we take our chances and actually create some chances as well, because we don't create enough.
Did we not go down to 9 men in that game, actually?
We did. We were knackered, and it went, I think, to extra time as well, didn't it? It was absolutely mental. But again, that's where organisation comes in. We were very good when we went down to 10 or 9 men. We were very organised under Gerrard, just to throw that in there.
Fair enough. Ryan, your gut feeling on how you're going to feel this time next Monday?
I'm glad I'm going on the bus on the way back down the road, because if I was driving the car myself, I might indicate and take the slip road for the Erskine Bridge.
Fair enough, mate. And Andrew, yourself?
These are the weeks. We are Rangers fans. We'll always back our team 100%. So we'll be singing our hearts out on Wednesday and at the weekend, and hopefully we can turn this around a bit. And you know what? We don't want to see Martin out of a job. We don't. We want to actually back our manager and start winning things. So hopefully he can turn it around. But the signs aren't good.
Well, we do have a full schedule this week. First of all, let me mention that Scotty and Dave did a couple of videos on our YouTube channel. So if you're not a subscriber, please head over to YouTube, search the Rangers Journal, and subscribe to the channel. It's looking in depth at strikers. All their information is powered by Y-Scout, so it's the best of figures and statistics that's going to be looked at on there. And I've had a look at the video, and it's a good watch. So head over there and watch that. Pods every night this week. Obviously, we'll do a pre and a post match for the game on Wednesday night. We'll get a Rangers news show at lunchtime on Friday, which hopefully, if we are in Europa League, that's when the draw for the Europa League is going to be. So we'll be able to bring you live, the live fixtures for that, or the live draw for that on Friday lunchtime. Anything we've not touched on, Andrew, you'd like to bring up?
Not really. I think we've covered pretty much everything. Yeah, been a good podcast.
No worries, mate. And Ryan, yourself?
Nope, I think I've got it all off my chest.
Fair enough. Well, I'm glad we're here to hear it. Yeah, guys, thank you very much for watching. Thank you for your comments at the side. It's been pretty busy tonight. And again, if you like watching a podcast, please check us out all this week. If you like listening to podcasts, we are available on all your podcast apps like Apple and Spotify. So if you want to listen to us when you're out and about or at work, stick it on there as well. And so, yeah, thank you everyone for watching. Remember, every night is the Rangers Journal night. Good night.